Given that all you bike show viewers are undoubtedly very knowledgeable, I'm sure you remember that last year Yamaha debuted a quite significant model. It was called the MT-09, a kind of sporty naked bike. But it wasn't significant because of that reason. What made it special was the fact that for the first time in decades, Yamaha was using an inline three-cylinder engine. Given that, for some reason, South Africans don't really like naked bikes, it was never going to be a big seller. So now, a year later, we've got the next derivative of this model, and it's the MT-09 Tracer. And if you look carefully, it's pretty much the same bike from here backwards. In fact, it's almost identical. It's just that up front, we've got a set of higher bars, a decent screen, and a bit of a half fairing. So instead of being sporty naked, it's now a sporty tourer. If only I had some proper roads to test it on instead of the grey, dull, straight Gauteng rubbish. Just imagine if the sun was shining and I had this Tracer on the coastal road heading from Hermanus to Gordons Bay. Just imagine 30-degree temperatures and a perfectly surfaced road with endless corners and dips and the odd crest thrown in for good measure. 10 minutes here is worth tens of weeks of testing on Gauteng's tedious tarmac. There's enough variety in this one stretch of road to soon realise that the Tracer has really got the sport bike of its character well and truly sorted. At touring speeds, the bike is so easy to ride you can do it on autopilot while you take in all that scenery. But if you want to up the pace a bit, the Tracer is more than happy to oblige. Either way, this bike likes corners. ABS-equipped brakes mean you can stop for the tight ones, and a lovely 847cc inline triple means you can fire out of them like a proper sport bike. Triples are often torquey engines, and this is no exception. The mid-range is a nice place to be on the Tracer, and even if the 115 horsepower peak does tail off a fair bit before the red line, it's still willing to visit when you're in the mood. And down in the Cape, I was in the mood quite a lot. The Tracer has hit the sweet spot as an all-round package. A touring bike whose sporting side deserves the utmost respect. Few road bikes can lay serious claim to being a true all-rounder. It's a more difficult trick to achieve than you might imagine, but this Yamaha is one of the best. Whether it's getting you to work and back or transporting you and your better half along idyllic routes like this, the Tracer will help you enjoy the experience that much more. It looks good in this silver too, classy and grown up. No need for wild colours or fancy graphics when the basic shape is as interesting as this. The front end is particularly striking. The Tracer has an instantly recognisable face thanks to the protruding headlights and silver handguards. The exhaust has been tucked away neatly too, while three shiny headers give away the engine configuration. A set of meaty radial calipers that wouldn't look out of place on a superbike, and a rear shock that is definitely firmer than it was in the MT-09 Naked, and that can only be a good thing. Adjustable traction control, on or either off, and ABS are the only electronic rider aids, and though both do a decent job, I'd like to be able to turn off the ABS just as you can with the traction control. Still, neither will stop you having any fun though. Ah well, back to reality, back to grey old Gauteng. But let's see what we've established first, and that is the fact that the Tracer is more sporty than it is tour. It is definitely worth touring on, decent comfort, and with an adjustable screen you can fine-tune the wind protection. Handguards, well they're very useful for keeping a cold breeze off your hand. And instruments, they tell you everything you need to know, from fuel consumption to instant fuel consumption. And with this being the exact same instrument binnacle that you get on the Super Tenere, it really is stuffed full of information. And what's useful for a sport tourer, it's got 3 riding modes. We've got a B, which tames the power down a bit and is effectively for rain mode, but then we've got standard. Now that's where I ride it most of the time. It's plenty responsive enough. In fact, noticeably, the fuel injection is better than it was on the MT-09, the naked bike, so they've obviously refined that a little bit. It's also got an A mode. Now there, the throttle response is much, much more immediate. In fact, it's too immediate and too snatchy for most riding conditions, except when you want to daydream a little bit and go brain out in somewhere in the Cape. What you also need on a bike that's a sport tourer, and sport tourer is another way of kind of saying an all-round motorbike, are lovely little details like an auxiliary power socket, so you can plug your sat-nav in, or maybe heated clothing. It's also got, and I like this, very nice touch, it's got adjustable headlights. Manually adjustable, but when you're carrying a pillion, you know what it's like. The bike often sits down a little bit and then you end up blinding everyone in your path. Not a good thing. It's lovely little details like this that show Yamaha has put an awful lot of thought into the Tracer, and it's those details that make the ownership experience so enjoyable. But there's one other lovely little detail that matters even more, and that's the price. 125,000 rand. Now, on the face of it, that might seem quite expensive, but believe me, it isn't. You have a look at the Tracer's competition, and they're all more expensive. And I'll tell you this, the Tracer is a better bike than all of them. Good at touring, a lovely sport bike with a belter of an engine. You couldn't get a better bike in this class, simple as that. In fact, I go so far as to say that I reckon this Tracer is a bit of a dark horse for this year's Pirelli Bike of the Year. How's that for a verdict?
Something actually tells me that that wasn't quite a dream sequence. I think you actually were there.
No, mate, don't get carried away. It's all in your imagination. It was a dream. Well, don't get jealous, it was a dream.
I'll tell you what isn't in my imagination is when I do a test, I'm around the back of your house.
Yeah, well, you just don't dream hard enough. No imagination, that's your problem.
Evidently. But now you have to pick up on something you said there. Bike of the Year potential finalist?
Potential winner. It's that good.
Winner?
Brilliant engine, fantastic handling, and possibly the most important factor is it's 125,000 rand. And you try and name me some of the alternatives and you'll start to see exactly how competitive it is.
Well, if we go, let's go upwards in price. You've got Triumph's 800 XRX Tiger, that's the one with the alloy road wheels. That's 128,000.
Yeah, very close in price. Significantly less horsepower, though. I think, can you remember the Triumph was around the mid to high 90s, wasn't it? 95
yeah,
horsepower.
Yeah, 95 to 100, yeah.
I remember the Yamaha is 115 horsepower, so that's properly sporty. Both got triple-cylinder engines, of course, and the Triumph is a very good bike, but no, I'm sticking with the Yamaha.
OK, where do we go from there? We've got this, the BMW F800 GT.
Yeah, this is a
142,000.
142,000. Bit more touring than sports in this case.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a bigger fairing, it's more bodywork, and also in the same vein as this is Honda's VFR 800, which is also 140,000 rand.
Yes, but in the Honda's case, I don't think there's any way to put this kindly, it's just overpriced.
And it's...
Yes, it nearly put you to sleep. You may remember that Harry tested that a while ago and barely survived the dullness of the whole experience.
I haven't woken up yet. In fact, I'm still having my dream now.
Well, enough dreaming. The competitors are there, and I'm serious. Yamaha's Tracer really is that good of a bike, and it really is a contender for this year's Pirelli Bike of the Year. An ad break now, and we'll be back afterwards with some very interesting new products.